Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'da, habibti fillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A question was asked, what are your thoughts on marrying a woman of good deen and character, family background, etc., but you simply aren't attracted to her? Does one get rewarded more for putting her deen before her looks? Nabiyyina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, تنكح المرأة لأربع لمالها ولحسبها ولجمالها ولدينها فاظهر بذات الدين تربت بذاك. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that a woman is married for four things: for her wealth, for her family, like her family status, her beauty, and her religion. So you should marry the religious woman. And this hadith, and you will be successful. You will be losers if you don't marry the woman for religion. So this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam shows us the importance of marrying someone for their religion, for their religious beliefs, how their aqidah is, how their practice is. Very important how their practice is. Are they consistent? Do they pray? Are they trying to adhere to the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam? And when it comes to brothers marrying sisters, usually the women, generally, they follow the way of the man. But if you have a very strong, a woman who has a very strong opinion, very opinionated, very kind of, she wants to be the leader in the household, then this can be a problem when it comes to practicing the deen. And there are a variety of different scenarios like this. But as the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam mentioned, that marrying the woman for her deen, especially if she is, she's practicing her deen as best as she can, and meaning that her manners, her tarbiyah, not just that she prays, but that she has good adab, she has good manners, she has some shyness, she has good akhlaq. Because if a woman, maybe she knows Tawheed, but she's not that great at practicing it. Maybe she knows things about the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but her manners, her manners and how she interacts with other sisters, maybe she backbites. So this is why it's kamil. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ما من شيء أثقل في ميزان المؤمن يوم القيامة من حسن الخلق. He said there isn't a thing that weighs heavier on the scale of the believer than good manners. So that shows us that is very important on the scale of the believers, and that means in this life. In order to have it placed on the scale of you in the hereafter, means you have some of it. You have good adab, good manners in this life, if it's going to be heavy in your scale and in your favor in the hereafter. So that means marrying a woman for her aqidah. It doesn't mean she has to be a student of knowledge or anything, but that she knows something about Tawheed, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. She's not on shirk, she's not on kufr, hopefully she's not on bid'ah. And if she has some shortcomings in this, that at least she's humble and she's able to learn. That's very important. That's why I say good manners is very important, and it goes so far, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Another important point in answering your question, I think, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that a woman is married for her status. She's married for her beauty. I mean, these are things that human beings, that is what we prize, that a woman, maybe she has status. Some people, it is about wealth. They want to marry someone for their status. And some people, they want to marry, and this goes with men and women, for the looks, for the beauty. Is she beautiful? And this is for a lot of men. So what I would say, going more to your question, is that that it's very important because of the conditions we live in, because of the societies we come from. So I say this is something which is an issue around the world, especially in the West, because the West, we are hypersensitized to what we consider beauty. You know, we're bombarded with it. It's in our marketplaces, it's in our schools, it's in our workplace, it's on TV, it's in our phones, but really that is all around the world for everyone, and it's changing whole traditional societies. With that being the case, I absolutely believe that this is very important for a Muslim man and woman in the West to make sure that they're marrying someone along with the deen that they are attracted to. So I don't advise, unless someone's taken a second wife or a third wife, but it's very important as men to have a woman that you are attracted to. And if a man goes into a marriage, because over the course of marriage, men and women change, and they lose some of that same zeal more often than not. This is mostly the case. And the exception is those who actually become more affectionate and more, can revive their marriage through various ways, through counseling, through, physical things that they can do to make themselves attractive for one another, whether that be exercise, whether that be whatever. And also activities that they do that's between the husband and wife. However, most people, that as we age and as we change, maybe the attraction is not the same. So with that being the case, if a person goes into a marriage, a Muslim brother, for example, he takes a wife and she's aslan not even his type and he's not attracted to her. MashaAllah, she remembers the Quran, she knows Arabic, whatever the case may be, because I've seen it countless times. I'm also talking from experience as well. I know many divorces, countless divorces, where literally people within weeks were wanting to divorce. And unfortunately, sometimes these were very religious and good women, but brothers from the West, from the UK and from America and Canada and so forth, revert and non-revert, born Muslim, and reverts, that they divorce because there isn't any attraction and there's no cultural understanding. So I think it's very important that we have to consider, we're talking about marriage. You don't want to just take a wife and you can't communicate in the same language, and you have no, or at least you should be aware that there are those cultural differences if you marry in a different culture. So that's very important to consider. And I'd like to offer that as advice, that you need to at least be aware, if you are from America and you are marrying someone from Indonesia, you're marrying someone from Somalia, you're marrying someone from Ethiopia, and I mean, they're not growing up in the West, that they are in those countries, you have to realize that they have some different culture and different cultural values. So you should be aware of that, so that way you guys, that you don't have the, you can face the challenges from having different cultural backgrounds. Secondly, as I mentioned, it's absolutely imperative that you are attracted. Doesn't mean she has to be absolutely your model idea of beauty, but that you're attracted to her. Because if you go into the marriage and after a year or two and after several children, she changes and you don't find that same attractive, and you're still being bombarded around, through social media and everything, of what beauty is, and you have different tastes and what have you, you're going to be distracted, and it'll be very difficult, and it can be difficult upon the marriage. So I absolutely do not advise marrying someone just with a deen and not being attracted to them, but rather you want to have some sort of balance. And likewise, even for the sisters, because yes, we tend to see that sisters, there's a lot of sisters, especially from overseas, that are more tolerant of not necessarily being attracted to their husbands like this, that they can go and be more satisfied with a religious man. I think this tolerance, I believe, is more with women than men. So it's very important that when stepping into marriage, that you have some sort of attraction attraction to that person, as well as the deen. So it's not an either or. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned those four sifat. And he said, so basically if it comes down to those four sifat, or the most important of those four sifat, those four traits, is the deen. So but that doesn't negate having some of the other traits if she has status or, as we said, beauty. So my advice would be to marry a woman that you at least have some attraction for, as well as her deen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.